Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to top up the DCT fluid on your C8 Corvette. Basically, all you need is 2 floor jacks. And instead of topping up the DCT fluid from the trunk, which I find is extremely time consuming because you got to remove all of this to access the intake and then remove the intake. We're not going to do any of that. Instead, what I'm going to do is top up the DCT fluid from the side. So since I need to lift up the driver's side, I'm just going to move the car up here to the middle. That way I got more space. Alright, so now that I've got the C8 in a better position, we can go ahead. By the way, loving the hood. Just had it PPF'd, the entire hood. I absolutely love that hood. Okay, so now I've got the C8 in a much better position. And like I said, we're going to lift the driver's side to access the fill port on a transmission. And in order to do that, we need to remove the rear tire. Loosen those nuts and then raise this side of the vehicle. And what I like to do is use 2 floor jacks. All right, let's get right to it. Just a quick tip when it comes to changing out your wheels. I like to use these sockets that have a nylon sleeve that helps protect your rims. Unfortunately, with these rims, this doesn't quite fit. So I'm gonna have to use a traditional socket. But do consider purchasing one of these. You can get them in a set with different sizes and they're great since they're plastic. They don't scratch your rims. All right, so let's go ahead and loosen those bolts. Factory bolts on the C8 are a 19 millimeter. And I like to use a crisscross pattern for loosening and tightening. Okay, then go ahead and put on your parking brake. And for greater safety, put wheel chocks on the front and rear wheel. By the way, these Torn 3.5 ton jacks are perfect on the C8. They fit perfectly underneath. They're low profile. That's the thing I like about them. They're low profile and a high lift, so these go up to 21 inches. So I've got the front one positioned. Now we'll go ahead and put one on the back. Just a quick side note, if you are looking to buy a floor jack, check out Torn's Big Red 3.5 ton Super Duty garage jack. The reason why I really like this jack is it's a low profile, so it can easily fit under your C8. Yeah, it's high enough that I can easily work on a pickup truck. So I bought a couple of new ones. It's a great jack, highly recommend it. And it's got a nice foam pad here. And it's got a foot pedal to help you kind of move it around, position it, which is kind of nice too. So I've got the jacks positioned where they're supposed to be. Now I'm just gonna take my time and lift up the side, going back and forth between the floor jacks. So I'll lift a little bit in the back and a little bit in the front. I'll just keep doing this, going back and forth. I'm gonna lift the back up just a little bit more. Now I can go ahead and remove my wheel. Okay, so it might be hard to see where that fill plug is. It's going to be right underneath the axle. So I'll try to get in as close as I can and I'll point to it for you guys. So that plug right there, that is the DCT fill plug. The DCT fill plug is a 17 millimeter. And what I find works best is having a universal joint and an extension. So the only extension I have for a 1/2 inch is about 1 foot. I think 2 feet would be a little better because it is kind of deep in there. But this is the setup, and this is pretty much all you need. The other thing I just want to mention, it's a good idea to lay some towels right underneath where that plug is, just in case it falls down. So I'll go ahead and grab a towel and stuff it right underneath the plug. Hopefully you can see it there. Got my black towel right underneath that fill plug. So that's just in case I have to drop it. I don't have to go around fishing for it or possibly having to remove the panel underneath. So in order to avoid that possibility, I'm just gonna put a piece of towel right underneath the plug, like so. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try to remove that fill plug. Like I said, it's a 17 mil on the universal joint. You're gonna need an extension. The longer the better. I only have a 1 foot extension, that's what I'm working with. I've got it on there. This is what I mean. It would have been nice to have a longer extension. So with a 1 foot extension, you know, you're working in this area right here, which is still manageable, but it would have been nice if the extension was out here. Okay, I've got my socket right on that fill plug. It's nice and secure. There we go. I think I got it. Now I'm just unscrewing it by hand, very carefully. I'm gonna use my fingers, just so I don't want to drop it. I'll take you guys up close, kind of navigate through all of this here. So you can see the plug right there. Okay. Right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that off without dropping it. Here, I'll move the light. There you guys, there you go. Now we'll get a better look. So there's that plug. I've got my towel right underneath it. And I'm gonna slowly but surely make sure you don't drop that plug. There we go. So there's the fill plug for your DCT on the C8. Still in good shape. It's not leaking any fluid, obviously, because I've got the car at an angle. So now that I've got that fill port open, I can go ahead and add my DCT fluid. All right, so here is your DCT fluid. It's AC Delco. You just look for a FFL4. So this is for a DCT on a C8 Corvette. There is your part number 194-18016. You have to decide just how much you want to add. Now, GM recommends if you're tracking your vehicle to add 2 of these bottles. I don't track my car, so I don't think I need the 2 quarts. However, I do feel like it would be an added benefit to have additional fluid. So I'm just going to compromise a bit and just add 1 quart. When I did this procedure about a year ago, I did the same thing. I added just 1 quart. I didn't feel the need to add 2. And I just feel like adding a little bit, I don't think it's gonna hurt. And with all the problems C8 owners are having with their DCT, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues with this car at all. And so I'm just gonna continue doing what seems to work for me, and that is just adding 1 quart of these. All right, so that's half the battle right there. I guess the next thing you gotta figure out is how to get the DCT fluid into that fill port. Now, last time I did this, I used a long hose with a funnel and I just poured it manually. And that worked out pretty well. But since then, I purchased this tool here. It's called a fluid extractor. I'm just cleaning it out Make sure it's nice and clean. So that's nice and clean in there. Cleaned out the hose. Actually, this one comes with 2 new hoses. I'm gonna clean this out, but it's been washed. It's nice and clean. And the hose basically just snaps right on. Just like that. All right, so let's give this a try. So let's go ahead and see how well this works, or it doesn't work. I don't know, I'm just trying to come up with ways to make this job easier for all of us. So let's just see. Just gonna put this through. Guide it right into that hole. Okay, now I'm just gonna pump it. And it's going in. Okay. So it's all gone, so I'm just gonna repeat. So if you're wondering, why am I doing this now? Well, the reason is I just had the DCT fluid changed by the dealership. And so I was at the 3-year mark. I changed the DCT fluid. The dealership didn't top it up for me. So I figured I'll just do it myself since I've done this before using this method. So that's what I'm doing now. I think the dealership charges $1,000, something like that, to top it up. It's like ridiculous amount. Like, this is super easy. I think that's all of it now. And push it in. So that's the last bit remaining from this bottle. This bottle is completely empty. All done. As you can see, I think it's done pretty much. Yeah, so very little left. That's it. Just to summarize what we've done so far, I've raised the driver's side of the vehicle, I'd say probably 15 degrees. It's not much at all. I removed that fill plug from the side. It's a 17 millimeter. I then went ahead and used a fluid extractor to extract the DCT fluid from the bottle, and I pumped it into the transmission. So that took about 6 pumps to get the 1 quart. So now I've got 1 quart additional DCT fluid in the transmission of the C8. Now I'm gonna go ahead and install the fill plug, and we're gonna torque that down to 25 Newton meters. So that is 25 Newton meters right there. So we're gonna go ahead and torque that down. Okay, so for the install of the fill plug, do the exact same thing in reverse. Tighten it by hand first. That way you avoid the possibility of dropping your fill plug. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do it by hand to begin with. And then we're gonna torque it down with a torque wrench. Now, using my torque wrench, I'm going to torque down that fill plug to 25 Newton meters. That's it. And don't forget to remove your towel. And finally, we're gonna torque the wheels down to 140 foot-pounds. One last tip, when you're using a torque wrench, when you're done, make sure you reduce it down to the lowest torque setting. This will just ensure that the unit is well calibrated. Easy peasy, all done. That literally took me maybe 20 minutes in total, so super easy job. If you want to top up the DCT fluid on your C8 Corvette, I highly recommend doing it the sideways method, basically lifting this end up and filling it through the Philip hole. All right guys, that's gonna do it. I'm pretty much done. I just topped up with 1 quart of DCT fluid on the C8 using the side method. A lot easier to do it that way than rather going through the fill plug through the trunk on the top of the transmission. Using the side fill is so much easier. That whole procedure literally took me, I'd say, 20 minutes or so. Finally, last thing I'm going to do is document the date and the mileage, and this is just for myself. So on the odometer, I have 26,923 kilometers. And today's date is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. The cold start on the 2M fabrication catback exhaust sounds simply amazing. Listen to this. I hope you guys enjoyed that video and you learned something. Hit that subscribe button, I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next one.